Hi everyone, welcome back to the 100-day series of Heal Your Inner Child. We are on day 60th, and today we're going to talk about journaling. Before I start, I am Anisha, your healer and life coach, and I've been working with people for over a decade now. And today we're going to talk about uh, journaling. Journaling on your inner child hearing. So, what are we doing actually in the process? Just reassuring the inner child again and again and again. Just let's take an example. If you as a kid, right, were told again and again that we don't have money, like your parents told you, we don't have money, we can't buy this, we don't have money, we can't buy this, we can't have this. There'll be a time when you are, say, 10, 11, 12, right? You either you start rebelling, right? And you want things your way because you've never ever got anything new. Suppose you've always got your older brother's cycle, you got their clothes, you got their books, all of that, right? So there will be a time where either you rebel and you want to get something of your own, right? And you don't like to just keep getting secondhand stuff and you feel like you deserve more, or you develop a habit of constantly always second guessing everything and also develop self-worth issues, right? So maybe you don't really deserve good things, so you've always been handed down stuff, right? And so you actually now don't even aspire for anything good or anything new because that's how life is, right? That becomes a way of life for you, right? And of course, these are just two scenarios that I'm talking about. You can be and absolutely there are so many permutations and combinations based on the hardships a person goes through or different scenarios a person goes through. How the person reacts is completely based on a gazillion other factors, right? However, the point I'm trying to drive here is that there will be fractures in that inner child's faith for sure, okay? Where they will somehow start to develop a belief system, okay? Which, again, it can definitely be towards a positive direction as well. However, for many folks, it takes a different negative route, right? Where folks start to doubt themselves. Again, this is not true for everyone, and anything and everything I say here is not true for everyone. It can't be, right? Because we all have different stories, we all have different ways our inner child reacts. Our inner child will show us different versions of the world, and that's how we will move forward, right? So, however, for those folks who feel like they weren't enough adult figures or parents who were standing by them, taking care of them, always there to help, right? Always supportive. For example, for me, let's take my example. I think it was quite late in life. I felt that I was a runner. I realized that I never felt stable at one place, and because I felt like in order to deal with my own trauma, I had to keep running, right? And that was my coping mechanism. So the more I ran, I felt like the more I healed. And so so there were times when my inner child was not assured of how safety looks like, right? Or how love looks like, or how safe love looks like, right? Or how support looks like. So there were so I think a big chunk of my adult life was constantly looking for safety in every relationship or in every situation or in every scenario, right? I was always chasing safety unknowingly, subconsciously, unconsciously, because somewhere that is what really brought that peace within me, right? So today's journaling is about letting the inner child know again and so for me it was very important for my inner child to know that it's safe, it's safe, it's safe, it's safe. There's support, not just safe, it's there is support. There is constant support, there will always be support. Come what may, support is there. So I ultimately went to that spiritual support as my ultimate grounding factor, that I can always rely on the higher self. I can always rely on angels. I can always rely on, the higher power. So that became my safety, net basically for my inner child. And so I could constantly go there and feel like relaxed, right? So it can be so many things for so many people. So for me, for safety, for somebody, it can be love. For somebody, it can be um, for me it was safety and support, but there can be so many other things. For somebody it can be feeling heard, for somebody it can be feeling held, for somebody it can be never feeling abandoned, right? So look at what is it that your inner child needs. We're on day 60th, so we're halfway through, and you probably have connected with your inner child. If you've done, like I said, always do it systematically, right? Progressively, because that's how I've designed the course. You probably now know what your inner child truly needed. Again, it can be so many different things together, right? It can be one thing, it can be 12 things. Whatever is right and true for you is your reality, right? Is your truth. So bring that out. I am giving you an example of journaling on I will never abandon you again. But like I said, it can be different for different people. For me, it was safety and support, right? For you, it can be something else. But keeping it general, what I've seen with a lot of folks, I'm going to work on journaling on I will never abandon you again. Okay. So find a quiet, comfortable space. Of course, bring a paper and a pen, right? Take a few and preferably get a notebook that you've been journaling on since day one. Okay, so keep a separate notebook so that you can actually refer to it later on as well. Okay, so take a few deep breaths, grounding yourself in the present moment. Place a journal or a notebook in front of you, right? Close your eyes and invite your inner child to sit beside you. Okay. So you can imagine, or you can actually bring your dolls out and place them in front of you, right? Now visualize them looking at you with trust and curiosity. So if you are the inner parent, then your inner child is looking at you. Okay. Feel their presence, small, tender, vulnerable, yet full of hope. Right? Now slowly open your eyes and begin writing. Okay. Let your words flow freely. Okay. So I'm going to give you five prompts. The first one, I see you, my inner child, and I acknowledge your pain. Okay. Now write down all your promises, what you will do differently now to care for yourself. Write down the moments. Sorry, I mixed the two up. So the first one is, I see you, my inner child, and I acknowledge your pain, right? And now you write down the moments where you felt unseen or unheard. Okay. So write down all the moments you felt unheard or unseen. You know how you were talking to your, I'll give you an example. Something came to my mind. I came back from school. I remember I was probably 10 and I was telling my father about something, right? Like this happened and that happened and la la la, la, right? And my father was very, very upset about something. Now I don't know what, right? So he was going through his files and he was like angry, okay? And I kept like talking, and I remember him like screaming at me because I think he was stressed about some financial issue, and here I was talking about something, right? And so of course, at that moment you feel very taken aback. You feel unseen, you feel unheard, right? So all the moments where you felt that, write it down, right? Second prompt. I will never abandon you again. I will never abandon you again. Now, write down all your promises and what you will do differently now to care for yourself. Remember all the promises we made yesterday? So, write down those promises and kind of reassure your inner child how you will never abandon your inner child again. So, write down the promises. I will always be there for you. I will always be present. Even if I'm going through stuff, I know I will be there for you. Even because sometimes you're stressed, right? And you don't even have time that day to acknowledge your inner child. But no, even on those days you will. So that's the promise you're making. Okay. Number three, I am here to nurture, protect, and love you. So describe the ways you will show up for your inner child daily. You can write actions, words, rituals. Like, I think this is a great example that, a day if you're sick and you're in bed and you're lying and you're like really feeling bad, right? Even in those days, just put your hand on your heart and be like, I see you, inner child. Let's just rest today. Just that little 2 seconds it'll take, but you're still showing up for your inner child, even on your worst days. So that's um how you'll nurture your inner child, okay? Number four, I release the fear of abandonment. Here, close with a paragraph affirming your commitment to your inner child. So, what is your commitment? I will walk with you through life. It can be I will listen, I will protect you. And what are we even saying? Just let's zoom out. We are saying that if there is a trigger, if somebody says something really mean to you, like you look like a piece of shit, okay? At that moment, we might fight with that person, but later on, we might start feeling like, oh my God, do I really look that bad? Why did they say that? What about my nose? What about my jaw? So when you actually go into those dialogues with yourself, berating yourself, you are actually berating your inner child, remember. So at that moment, you need to be kind to yourself. You need to let go of whatever somebody said to you because your inner core strength is strong now. You're not going to get affected by those triggers and dwell and marinate and hate yourself for the few months from that conversation. No, that's how you break um the chains of suffering and you start healing. That okay, this happened, you process it, you journal on it, and you let it go. You don't bring that hatred back to your inner child. You shield your inner child. You promised your inner child you're going to protect it. That is how you protect it. Because you're not going to go in a battleground and protect your inner child. It's going to be these daily triggers that you're not going to let your inner child get affected by, which basically means you are not letting yourself get affected by them. You see how deep and powerful and nourishing this healing is? Yeah. So those are the prompts that I want you to work on. And after you've journaled, take a moment to place your hand on your heart and breathe deeply, okay? And feel the bond that you've strengthened today, right? The circle of care and love between the adult self and your inner child, right? And then whenever you're ready, you can shut your journal notebook, right? And just remember and feel the warmth and safety throughout the day, right? Perfect. With that, we conclude today's exercise. I will see you all tomorrow. Signing off, Anisha Dutt from Zarya Healing.